My name is Ava, and the events I'm about to recount unfolded a few years ago when I was just 16. Our family made the collective decision to spend a weekend in a charming cabin nestled within the enchanting woods of Florida. Now, you've got to understand, my love for spending time in nature, especially in the heart of the woods, has always been an integral part of who I am. The weekend began innocuously enough, with the warm Florida sun casting a golden glow over the dense foliage surrounding our temporary retreat. As my family and I settled into the cabin, the anticipation of an adventurous weekend in the woods heightened my senses. Later into the night, as darkness wrapped itself around the cabin, I decided to step outside to relish the crisp night air. Yet, my blissful solitude was shattered when I noticed a bald man standing near the edge of the woods, his eyes fixed intently on me. I felt a cold shudder, and an unsettling feeling settled within me. Retreating into the cabin, I dismissed the encounter as a figment of my overactive imagination. However, the uneasiness lingered. As the hours passed, my family retired to their rooms, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The image of the bald man, his gaze piercing through the darkness, haunted my mind. In the dead of night, a subtle rustling sound disturbed the cabin's silence. The barely audible noise, overshadowed by the distant howls of nocturnal creatures, piqued my curiosity. Unable to resist, I followed the sound to the bathroom, my footsteps echoing in the eerie stillness. Approaching the bathroom window, my heart skipped a beat. The bald man from earlier now stood just outside, peering in with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Panic surged within me, and I hurriedly called the authorities, describing the unsettling encounters we had experienced. Yet, as the dispatcher assured help was on the way, the bald man inexplicably disappeared into the night. Days passed, and the incident became a surreal memory. Determined to salvage our weekend, we convinced ourselves that the mysterious man was merely a passing stranger. Last summer, my partner and I yearned for a break from city life. Tired of the bustling streets and constant hum of urban living, we craved an escape into the embrace of nature. Instead of the usual camping routine, we decided to rent a cabin in the remote North Dakota forest, seeking a tranquil retreat away from the beaten path. Our getaway unfolded in a manner we had not foreseen, leading us into the heart of mystery and unease. Eager for adventure, we set out to explore a new hiking trail in the depths of the forest. The initial day and night were pleasant, the air chilled like freezing point, and fragrant with the scent of pine, enveloping the surroundings in an icy embrace that showcased the untouched beauty of North Dakota's wilderness. As the morning sunlight filtered through the towering trees, we laced up our hiking boots and embarked on our expedition into the unknown. The trail meandered through dense foliage, the forest seemed alive with secrets, and we relished the feeling of being the only souls immersed in its vastness. However, our idyllic journey took an unexpected turn when we stumbled upon a lone figure walking towards us. The man emerged from the shadowed depths of the forest, his form becoming clearer as he approached. He was dressed in layers of worn-out clothing, his face obscured by a tangled beard and wild hair. Despite the freezing temperatures, he seemed unaffected, moving with an eerie determination that evoked a shudder in our bodies. Unease settled over us as we exchanged wary glances. The man's eyes, piercing and devoid of emotion, locked onto ours. He didn't acknowledge our presence, nor did he speak a single word. Instead, he continued his solitary journey through the frost-covered terrain, disappearing into the forest as mysteriously as he had appeared. Something about the man's presence seemed otherworldly, as if he didn't belong to this realm. We decided to report the encounter to the forest guards, hoping they might shed some light on the mysterious figure. Their response, however, only deepened the mystery. The guards listened attentively to our story, exchanging knowing glances as we described the encounter. To our surprise, they seemed uneasy, as if our words had triggered something within them. One of the guards, a seasoned ranger with weathered features, finally spoke up, revealing that we weren't the first to report such a sighting. According to the ranger, several hikers had encountered the same mysterious man in different parts of the forest over the years. Each time, the man would appear in freezing temperatures, walking alone and unaffected by the cold. However, no one had ever been able to capture a clear image of him, and attempts to follow him had always led to dead ends. The ranger assured us they would investigate the matter, but there was a palpable tension in the air. It was as if the forest itself held its secrets close, refusing to yield to the probing inquiries of those who sought to unravel its mysteries. The forest guards, too, seemed perplexed. Despite their best efforts, they could not explain the strange occurrences. The mysterious man had become a phantom, leaving behind only a chilling memory that cast a shadow over the once tranquil wilderness. In the end, the remote cabin and the hiking trail became a memory etched with a tinge of unease, leaving us to wonder about the mysteries that lay hidden in the heart of forest. Early spring in 2016 marked a turning point for my friend and me, two nature enthusiasts yearning for a change of scenery. We decided to rent a cabin deep in the woods of northern Arizona. The chosen area promised a serene haven with breathtaking views, just a couple of hours away from the city. As we approached to our cabin, the remnants of melting snow painted the landscape, and the crisp air hinted at the promise of a refreshing escape. The woods came alive with the resurgence of wildlife, creating the perfect backdrop for a rejuvenating break from our routine. Our cabin, perched on the edge of a hill, offered a small clearing that granted us a panoramic view of the entire valley. Excitement filled the air as we unpacked, eager to immerse ourselves in the beauty of the night. With the day unfolding without any remarkable events, we settled into the peaceful rhythm of the forest. However, a subtle feeling of being watched accompanied us, accentuated by the occasional rustling of leaves. As night descended upon, in the distance, I noticed a faint light flickering through the trees. Assuming it was my friend, I called out, expecting them to return from a brief exploration. To my surprise, the light didn't draw closer, and an eerie sensation crept over me. I grabbed a flashlight and cautiously approached the source. The woods revealed a stranger, standing there with a flashlight of their own. A wave of discomfort washed over me as I realized this wasn't our friend. The stranger's presence felt intrusive, and their gaze seemed to pierce through the darkness. Stammering, I asked, "Who are you? And what are you doing here?" The stranger's response was unsettling. They claimed to be a fellow nature enthusiast, drawn to the woods for the same reasons as us. Despite their seemingly harmless explanation, the unease persisted. The stranger began asking strangely personal questions, prying into our lives in a way that sent alarm bells ringing in my mind. Fear crept in as the stranger continued to follow us, refusing to leave despite our polite attempts to distance ourselves. The atmosphere turned tense, and a knot tightened in my stomach as I began to fear for our safety. The tranquility of the woods morphed into a chilling backdrop for an unexpected confrontation. Desperation set in as we sought refuge in our cabin, hoping the stranger would lose interest and vanish into the night. However, the persistent footsteps outside signaled that the stranger had no intention of leaving. Fueled by anxiety, I reached out to the local ranger station, explaining the bizarre situation unfolding in the depths of the woods. Relief washed over us when the ranger arrived, a beacon of authority and assurance. The stranger, confronted by the ranger's presence, became agitated and combative. The situation escalated, and it became evident that the stranger posed a threat. With calm yet firm authority, the ranger intervened, ensuring our safety. The stranger was subsequently arrested for disorderly conduct, bringing an end to the nightmarish encounter. As the stranger was led away, I couldn't shake the lingering unease that had settled in the pit of my stomach. Our cabin and woods trip, initially intended as a peaceful retreat, had transformed into an unexpected journey of fear and uncertainty. The subsequent days were marked by an increased vigilance regarding our environment, serving as a prompt that within the arms of nature, unexpected threats might hide in the shadows. The calm we had pursued returned slowly, but the recollection of that unsettling night persisted, overshadowing the allure of the forest we had initially welcomed so eagerly. The events that unfolded over the past 5 years still send shivers down my spine whenever I recall that unnerving weekend. It all began when my friends and I decided to rent a cabin on the lake for what we had hoped would be a fun-filled getaway. We were a group of young adults in our early to mid-20s, looking forward to a weekend of laughter, water activities, and perhaps a little partying. Friday night and Saturday morning were a blast. We indulged in water activities, soaked up the sun, and reveled in the joy of being surrounded by good company. However, by Saturday afternoon, the exhaustion had set in, and we collectively decided to take it easy that night. No more drinking, just a bit of weed for some of us. Little did we know that this decision would lead us into the strange and unsettling events that unfolded that night. As the evening progressed, around 11 p.m., a few of us found ourselves inside the cabin, while 5 others lingered outside on the second-story deck surrounded by woods, overlooking the serene lake. The cabin had a rustic charm, but the strange vibes we had already picked up from the locals, particularly the backcountry old-timers who eyed us with suspicion, were hard to ignore. The night took a bizarre turn when an unexplained, loud crack shattered the otherwise peaceful ambience. It echoed through the woods. We exchanged worried glances, trying to make sense of the unsettling noise. The crack seemed to come from the heart of the forest, and an uncomfortable silence followed, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Then, as if the unsettling noise wasn't enough, a mysterious and foul smell permeated the air. It was a scent none of us could identify, a mixture of decay and something more sinister. The once crisp night air now hung heavy with an unsettling odor, leaving us with a lingering sense of unease. The atmosphere had changed drastically, and an unspoken tension settled among us. Fear crept in, and we began to question whether our weekend retreat had taken a dark turn. The 5 friends who had been outside rushed inside, their faces pale and eyes wide with alarm. We huddled together, sharing our experiences and trying to make sense of the strange occurrences. The crack, the smell, it all felt otherworldly, as if we had stumbled upon something we were never meant to witness. As we debated our next move, the unsettling feeling persisted, like an invisible force surrounding us. Fearful and shaken, we collectively made the decision to abandon our trip. Packing hastily, we opted to drive through the night rather than risk another encounter with the unknown in the heart of the woods. As we left the cabin behind, the echoes of that unsettling night lingered in our minds. The once perfect trip had taken an unexpected turn, leaving an indelible mark on our memories. We drove in silence, haunted by the events that had transpired, and the atmosphere inside the car mirrored the heaviness of the night. The crack in the night, the mysterious smell, they became the focal points of our conversations, as we tried to rationalize and find explanations for what had happened. Yet, deep down, the uncertainty lingered, and the woods held on to their secrets, leaving us forever changed by the events of that fateful weekend. Looking back, we often wonder about the mysteries that unfolded in those woods, and the memories of that night continue to cast a shadow over our once carefree and joyful retreat. The cabin by the lake, once a symbol of relaxation and camaraderie, now stands as a reminder of the eerie and unsettling encounter that forever altered the course of our lives.